one person you rely on the most suddenly disappears for 10 long weeks? That's the question fans are asking right now, after shocking news revealed that Derick Dillard is officially leaving for Marine Corps boot camp. And many people are seriously wondering whether Jill Duggar can emotionally handle being left alone. For years, Jill and Derick have been almost inseparable. Through family scandals, emotional trauma, career changes, and raising 3 young boys together, Derick has always been right beside her. But now, everything is about to change. And according to fans online, this could be the biggest challenge their marriage has ever faced. Intro. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the emotional situation surrounding Jill Duggar and her husband Derick Dillard, after reports confirmed that Derick has officially left for military boot camp training. And honestly, the internet has a lot to say about it. Some fans believe this could help Jill grow stronger and become more independent, but others think she may completely fall apart without Derick by her side. And after hearing some of the details that recently came out about their relationship, many people are starting to understand why the concern is getting so intense. Derick leaves for training. So here's what happened. Derick Dillard recently began training to become a JAG officer for the United States Marine Corps. That means he's heading into a completely different lifestyle, one that includes strict military training, long periods away from home, and very limited communication with family. According to reports, Derick has now officially left Arkansas and traveled to Quantico, Virginia for officer candidate school. And during this period, Jill and their 3 sons are staying behind. But here's the part that really got fans emotional. Jill herself admitted that communication with Derick during training will be limited to no communication. That's a huge adjustment for any couple, especially for a couple like Jill and Derick. Jill even posted emotional messages online, asking military families for advice on how to survive this separation period. She talked about trying to stay strong, trying to create new routines, trying not to emotionally spiral while worrying about Derick constantly. And honestly, a lot of fans felt sad reading her posts because you could already sense the anxiety building. Why fans are so worried. Now, if you followed Jill Duggar's life for years, then you already know she's been through a lot. She grew up inside one of the most controversial reality TV families in America. Her entire childhood was spent surrounded by siblings, cameras, strict religious rules, and constant public attention. Then came the family scandals, the trauma, the fallout with her parents, the pressure of being in the public eye. And through all of that, Derick became her emotional safe place. That's why many fans believe this separation may hit Jill harder than people realize. In fact, critics online started bringing up older stories about how emotionally dependent Jill appeared to be on Derick in the past. Some fans recalled moments where Jill reportedly drove around just to see Derick during work breaks. Others mentioned stories about her struggling whenever he worked long hours. And recently, Jill herself admitted that after the heartbreaking loss of their baby daughter Isla, she was emotionally devastated and cried almost every day while Derick was working as an assistant district attorney. According to discussions online, that stress became so overwhelming that it even affected Derick's career situation. So now people are asking, if normal work schedules were already difficult for Jill emotionally, how is she supposed to handle 10 weeks with almost no contact at all? Internet reacts, and once the news spread online, the reactions exploded. Reddit threads filled up almost immediately with people debating whether Jill can realistically cope with this new reality. Some commenters were supportive. They said this could actually help Jill become stronger and more independent. Others argued that she's already gone through therapy and may be in a much healthier emotional place now than she was years ago. But not everybody was optimistic. Some critics flat out said they think Jill depends too heavily on Derick emotionally. Others wondered whether growing up in a massive family left Jill uncomfortable with loneliness or silence. One person even said Jill may have never truly learned how to function independently because she spent her entire life constantly surrounded by people. And honestly, that comment really made a lot of people stop and think. Because when you look at Jill's life story from childhood until now, there has almost never been a moment where she was truly alone. Ending tease. But despite all the criticism, some fans believe people are being way too harsh on Jill. And in part 2, we're going to talk about why many supporters think Jill may actually surprise everyone, plus the emotional reason Derick may have chosen the military in the first place. And trust me, now, despite all the criticism online, not everyone believes Jill Duggar is going to completely fall apart while Derick is away. In fact, some fans think this separation could become one of the most important turning points of her entire life. Because for the first time in years, Jill may finally be forced to discover who she really is, without constantly depending on someone else for emotional stability. And honestly, that conversation has become huge online. After all the negative comments started spreading, a lot of supporters quickly jumped in to defend Jill. Many people pointed out that Jill is not the same person she was 5 or 6 years ago. Back then, fans say she appeared much more emotionally fragile and deeply tied to her husband for reassurance. But over the past few years, Jill has openly talked about going to therapy, working through trauma, and trying to rebuild her identity outside of the Duggar family system. People.com. Supporters say that matters, because according to them, Jill has already survived situations that were far more emotionally painful than a temporary military separation. Think about everything she's gone through: public family scandals, being distanced from her parents, losing relationships with siblings, online hate, and most painfully of all, the devastating loss of her baby daughter Isla in 2024. People.com. Fans who support Jill argue that surviving grief like that changes a person forever. One commenter even wrote, "If Jill survived that heartbreak, she can survive 10 weeks without Derick." And honestly, a lot of people agreed. But even supporters admit one thing: this situation is not going to be easy, because while Derick is away at training, Jill is basically handling everything alone. 3 young boys, school schedules, house responsibilities, emotional stress, and all of it while worrying about her husband going through intense military training hundreds of miles away. That's a massive amount of pressure for anyone, especially someone already carrying years of emotional trauma. Fans also noticed that Jill has been posting more emotional and reflective content online recently. Some people think she's trying to mentally prepare herself. Others think she may already be struggling more than she's letting people see publicly. And then there's another major issue people keep discussing: the fact that military life could permanently change their family dynamic. Sina, could the military change Derick? This is where things started getting really interesting online, because some fans began asking a very unexpected question. Why did Derick suddenly decide to join the military now? Remember, Derick already had a stable legal career. He was working as an attorney, so for many people, this sudden transition into military life felt surprising. On .wikipedia.org. And naturally, the internet started creating theories. Some people believe Derick genuinely wants to serve his country and pursue a new career challenge. Others think he may have been searching for stronger structure and purpose after years of public controversy surrounding the Duggar family. But then came the darker theories. Some critics suggested that maybe Derick wanted distance from the constant emotional pressure happening at home. Now, to be clear, there's absolutely no evidence their marriage is falling apart. In fact, Jill and Derick still publicly appear very supportive of each other. But online speculation exploded anyway. People began analyzing everything: Jill's emotional posts, Derick's career shift, their recent interviews, even their body language in photos. And once internet detectives start doing that, things get messy fast. Scene fans fear the worst. One thing many longtime followers noticed is that Jill has often described Derick as her safe person, the person who helped her break away from toxic family dynamics, the person who encouraged therapy, the person who defended her publicly when tensions with the Duggar family became intense. People.com. So, now people are wondering, what happens when that person suddenly disappears from your daily life? Even temporarily? That question has triggered major debates online. Some fans think Jill will become emotionally stronger through this experience. Others fear the opposite. They worry the silence, loneliness, and stress could reopen emotional wounds Jill has spent years trying to heal. And honestly, military separations are difficult even for emotionally stable couples with strong support systems. But Jill's situation is different because so much of her emotional history is tied to abandonment, control, and instability from childhood. Which means this separation may feel much deeper psychologically than outsiders realize. Seeing social media gets brutal. Unfortunately, social media hasn't exactly been kind about the situation. Some critics mocked Jill openly, saying she should already know how to function independently as an adult mother of 3. Others accused fans of babying her too much, but many people pushed back hard against those comments. Supporters argued that trauma affects everyone differently, and they reminded critics that healing from years of emotional control inside a strict religious environment is not something that magically disappears overnight. People.com. In fact, some mental health discussions online became surprisingly deep. People started talking about attachment styles, childhood conditioning, emotional dependency, and how growing up in highly controlled households can impact adult relationships for years. Suddenly, the conversation became bigger than just Jill Duggar. It turned into a discussion about trauma, marriage, identity, and emotional survival. Ending tease. But here's where the story takes another dramatic turn. Because while fans continue debating whether Jill can cope without Derick, some people are now questioning whether this separation could actually bring them closer together than ever before. And in part 3, we'll talk about the emotional messages Jill shared right before Derick left, the surprising support she's getting from unexpected people. As the days count down and Derick Dillard settles into military training, one big question still hangs over everything. Will this separation break Jill emotionally, or will it actually make her stronger than ever before? Right now, fans are completely divided, but after some of Jill's recent emotional messages surfaced online, people started seeing this situation very differently. Shortly before Derick officially left for boot camp training, Jill shared emotional thoughts online about how difficult this transition has been for their family. She admitted she was nervous, overwhelmed, and honestly unsure about what life would look like without Derick physically present every day. But one part of her message stood out to fans the most. Jill said she was trying to focus on growth instead of fear. And that single word changed the entire conversation online, because suddenly, supporters began wondering if Jill herself already understands that this separation could become an opportunity instead of just a crisis. Many fans pointed out that growth usually happens during uncomfortable moments, not easy ones, and maybe for the first time in her life, Jill is being pushed into a situation where she has to rely on herself emotionally. Not her parents, not television fame, not even Derick, just herself. One reason this story has captured so much attention is because people have watched Jill evolve publicly over the years. Remember, this is someone who once lived under extremely strict rules. Rules about clothing, behavior, relationships, even independent thinking. on.wikipedia.org. But over time, fans watched Jill slowly change. She started questioning things, speaking more openly, setting boundaries with family members, going to therapy, making decisions for herself instead of simply following expectations. People.com. And now, some supporters believe this military separation is simply the next chapter in that transformation. Not because it's easy, but because difficult experiences often force people to discover strengths they never realized they had. One fan wrote online, "People keep acting like Jill is weak, but surviving what she survived already proves she's stronger than most people." That comment got a lot of attention because even critics admitted there may be truth in it. Seen unexpected support. Another surprising part of this story is the amount of support Jill has been receiving lately. Not just from fans, but from military spouses and mothers across social media. Many women who experienced military separations themselves started sharing advice with Jill online. Some told her to create routines. Others suggested journaling, therapy, and staying busy with the kids. A few even shared emotional stories about how military distance ultimately strengthened their marriages instead of destroying them. And honestly, those comments seemed to deeply affect Jill. because for maybe the first time in a long time, she's hearing encouragement from people completely outside the Duggar world, people who understand hardship differently, people who survived similar fears. And fans noticed something interesting after that. Jill slowly started sounding more hopeful in recent posts, still emotional, still nervous, but stronger somehow, more grounded. Seeing what this means for their marriage.